Ovidian. Ovid was born during Rome's transition from republic to empire, and he died around the last days of the first and great emperor Augustus. He witnessed tremendous change in the world around him. His personal life, too, had its ups and downs. He had ambitions to be great in his professional life, and he had passions to be great in his love life. Now, these qualities might normally be a good thing, but not necessarily helpful when they involve the emperor and the emperor's granddaughter. Ovid was exiled and spent his last years separated from the kingly world of Rome and in a land where people didn't even speak Latin. The narrative of rising to power, aspiring for greatness, perhaps even achieving it briefly, but then overreaching and experiencing a tragic fall is a familiar story to us today, though it's not so familiar because of Ovid's personal life, but because of the Ovidian tradition, which has carried the great stories of ancient Greece and Rome into today. The mythology has survived the 2,000 years since his death. It went through Shakespeare and many other great writers of Western Europe. Ovid didn't invent these things, but he told them so well that reading his great work, the Metamorphoses, it seems like Hollywood movies today. This poem has created and inspired so many stories familiar to us today that I won't take the time to name them for you, but you can see them in the images as I talk. On the surface, the epic poem is about one's changing status in life, shown via metaphor of changes in body, often into trees. So many times people become trees in this story. Maybe it's the Ovidian connection with universal themes and physical transformation, which is easy to see, that make the story so memorable, as in Arachne becoming the spider. But also there is the desire for immortality, jealousy of others' love, dissatisfaction with one's place in life, the dangers of lust for beautiful people, and very often the tragedies surrounding actions made in anger or hubris. Very different from Hollywood, however, is the Ovidian narrative isn't moralizing. When bad things happen to gods, titans, or people, we aren't always sure whether we should celebrate or cry. But what makes the Ovidian message enduring is that it can be transformed to fit the reader's perspective. The artistic mind will enjoy the poetic rhythm and rich metaphor. The religious mind will ponder the relationship between human and divine, and whether people are trying to distance themselves from gods. The philosophical mind will ask why we try to change our fate and how far we should push ethical standards in pursuit of personal satisfaction. The psychological mind will consider the motivations and status of individuals as they progress through life stages and ultimately face death. The political mind will ask whether history is a process of overthrowing old regimes and beliefs, then replacing them with systems that aren't necessarily better. Even the scientific mind may think that Ovid has some sense of the evolution of animals, the sense that species are not really fixed but malleable. And then the general reader will simply have fun with the exciting battles full of violence and the dynamic love stories of tragedy and sorrow. Another great Ovidian theme is the desire to be remembered. All physical things, including our bodies and the institutions around us, will fade with time. But our intellectual projects have the ability to continue. At the end of the Metamorphoses, Ovid actually writes proudly that his work is done so well that not even the great Jupiter or the destructive ages to come can take this away. He was full of hubris, but he was correct and is often cited as the great Roman poet of the Augustan age or of all time. So, when you hear someone speaking of Ovidian myth, they are probably talking about the masterful blending of ancient stories into tales that we can remember and continue to learn from.